A very strange weather pattern is developing in the United States right now, and it's set to bring even more record-breaking high temperatures to much of the United States today. Additionally, a huge storm is likely later this week that will probably bring a significant risk of severe weather, including damaging winds and large hail, and the threat of tornadoes. So in today's forecast, we're going to break down exactly what you need to know about the weather that'll be impacting the United States over the next 7 days, and we will begin with what's happening across the country today. Right now, we have a large storm system that is actually making its way across the Midwest and the Northern Plains. For most of you this morning, though, it's pretty much just cloud cover. There's really not much in the way of rain or snow. However, back up in northern Manitoba, there is actually a low-pressure system. That is where the storm system is, and this is actually going to slide down to the southeast over the next 24 hours. What this is going to do is bring the threat of ice, snow, and rain to the northeast on Sunday and Monday, and we could even see some ice buildup in some areas. But far northern New England is where the greatest impacts are expected, where winter weather advisories are in effect right now. This is all from the remnants of an atmospheric river event that hit the West Coast over the last few days. Lots of rain is hitting the West Coast. And unfortunately, even more rain is moving into California today, and this is going to really affect areas like Los Angeles, especially where there were burn scars from all the wildfires that broke out this past winter. A lot of those areas are dealing with mudslides today, so definitely make sure that you're staying safe if you are in California. Now, over the next few days, we are going to experience a major weather pattern change, and this is going to shape the rest of November. I'm expecting a fairly active weather pattern here for the next couple of weeks. So let's talk more about it. This is what the jet stream and our mid-level flow looks like right now. I know it might look a little messy, but right now we have pretty much a zonal flow all across the northern tier of the United States. We have a little low-pressure system just off the coast of California that is continuing to dump rain across Western California right now. And then there's a large storm system located back up in Canada that's going to bring that ice and snow event on Sunday. So as we go into Sunday and Monday, notice how that storm system will slide down to the southeast. It's going to be located right over northern New England, a very strong jet stream. This will actually help cool things down across the Midwest, the Ohio Valley, and the Northeast. So expect a cold front on Sunday to move through much of the Ohio Valley. A weak low-pressure system will make its way across the desert Southwest on Sunday. This will impact areas in the central United States on Monday. I'm expecting a very low-end risk for strong to maybe isolated severe storms mainly across Kansas, Missouri, and Illinois on Monday, and then Tuesday and Wednesday. That'll weaken as it moves across the Great Lakes. And then the big story is what comes after Tuesday. We are expecting a big storm system to make its way across the desert Southwest from Tuesday into Wednesday. It's going to drop some rain along the West Coast, but honestly, our biggest concern is for Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday across the central and southern plains. A very strong southwesterly flow is forecast to be locked in place, and depending on how this trough pushes out over the Rockies and the desert Southwest, that's going to determine our severe weather risk and just how much flooding rain we're in for. As of right now, the GFS model is suggesting that Thursday and Friday could be major days for severe weather, mostly for Oklahoma, Texas, Kansas, Arkansas, and Louisiana. And then on Friday, that threat would shift over into Dixie Alley. So we could be looking at 2 straight days of severe weather this Thursday and Friday with all hazards on the table. We might even be facing a high-end severe weather day. Then again, it could just be a low-end day. And to be perfectly honest, nobody knows for sure how this will all shake out because it all hinges on the evolution of this low-pressure system across the south on Thursday and even on Wednesday before it ever reaches Texas and Oklahoma. So you'll definitely want to monitor this situation closely as it develops. As long as there's any sort of risk for severe weather and flooding on the table, we will be bringing you daily updates on this storm system. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel and go ahead and click that bell icon, so you get notified with the latest updates because Wednesday through Saturday are looking to be very active across a large part of the United States. Then by Sunday and Monday of next week, that's when things get a whole lot hazier. But the GFS model is hinting that we're going to stay in a very active weather pattern with likely several more storm systems making their way across the central and southern U.S. during the last week or so of November. So it looks like we could be in for a pretty wild ride. Definitely make sure you are staying weather aware. Now, switching gears, one thing we're experiencing right now is a wild heat wave. We had over 100 records shattered yesterday in terms of record-breaking high temperatures. We are expecting to see at least another 20 or 30 different records fall today across the Midwest, and The Central Plains, where record-breaking highs are likely. This heat wave will continue with temperatures well above average, soaring up to 30 degrees above normal across the Great Lakes and the Central Plains. This is a massive flip. By the way, from last weekend, we had that huge Arctic air mass that plowed right across the East Coast, hitting the Great Lakes as well. So this is once again a completely different ballpark when it comes to the weather we're seeing this weekend. The good news, though, if you're in the Northeast, is that we're going right back to some wintry-like weather on Monday and Tuesday as some cold air wraps around the backside of that low-pressure system. So get ready for that across the Northeast. Unfortunately, temperatures are expected to stay at least somewhat above average across the Great Plains for Monday and Tuesday. And then by the middle and end of the week, it's basically going to be Groundhog Day across the country as we're set to remain above average for most of the lower 48, at least through next weekend. And before I get swamped in the comment section, there have been a couple of viral posts making the rounds on social media over the last few days that show this major Arctic blast coming right around Thanksgiving. Even some meteorologists are posting this, which I think is crazy. Now, I do want to throw it out there that yes, there is a possibility that we could see Arctic air and even a strong cold front around the end of November. I think we will at some point. However, there's really no science in predicting when that'll happen and if it'll happen around Thanksgiving and how cold it's going to get, because that is well over 10 days out. So just keep in mind, predictability in any sort of weather facet is very difficult anytime beyond 10 days. Nonetheless, even 7 days in a lot of cases, temperatures are a little bit easier to predict. But even then, it's more of a trend more than anything. We can't really predict exact numbers that far out, so I'm just throwing that out there. Again, don't put much stock into anything that you're seeing around Thanksgiving, as that is still over a week out from now. And for today, we are expecting about 24 record-breaking high temperatures to be set anywhere from the Central Plains all the way back into the Midwest. Areas like Oklahoma City will be challenging record-breaking highs in the low 80s today. Not something you see very often here in the month of November. Even back over in Wichita Falls, we could get near 92 degrees today. That is very hot for this time of the year. By tomorrow morning, though, a cold front will make its way across the Central Plains and the Ohio Valley. So things will take a little bit of a toll in terms of our temperatures. We'll start to cool down. Areas, though, in the Southern Plains and along the Gulf Coast will remain hot all the way through the end of the weekend and into early next week, with really no signs of major relief in the forecast for most of Texas or even the Southern Plains. The only relief that we'll probably see will be sometime around Friday once the storms in that low-pressure system make their way across the Deep South. But even then, it's not going to cool down that much. We're not talking about Arctic air here. We are talking about a fairly weak cold front for the month of November. Now, let's talk more about these big storm systems that will be impacting the United States over the next 10 days. Beginning with tonight into tomorrow, a strong low-pressure system will make its way into the Northeast. Heavy snowfall is likely across northern New England overnight, tonight into tomorrow morning. And we'll see a little bit of light snow continuing into early Monday morning across many of the higher elevations there of New England and also upstate New York. On Monday, a lot of rain is going to continue along the West Coast, especially California. Get ready for some flooding rainfall. A weak low-pressure system makes its way across the Central Plains early Monday into Tuesday. Could see a little bit of light snow across Minnesota, Wisconsin, and Michigan. But nothing really to write home about. No historical, stuff that's going to happen out of this. Very light snowfall, maybe an inch or two in some spots. And then Wednesday and Thursday is when things really get active. Wednesday is when we're expecting a lot of moisture to come out of the Gulf and a low-pressure system to make its way over Colorado and as well as New Mexico. And that's going to dump a lot of rain from Texas back into Missouri. Flooding risk will be elevated Wednesday and Thursday, but Friday looks like the day to watch for significant severe weather. With that said, there are a lot of question marks regarding how the storms are going to evolve either Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday. It's all going to come down to our trough evolution. I do think at least some level of severe weather is going to happen on Thursday. Look at the GFS showing a huge area of storms during the daytime on Thursday with a potential line of thunderstorms. And if we were to see a line, damaging winds would be the dominant threat with some embedded tornadoes possible. But the European model, on the other hand, is showing more discrete supercells. And if that were to happen, we could see even a tornado outbreak occur. So definitely something to keep an eye on for Thursday. And then by Friday, more severe weather is possible across areas in the Ohio Valley and Dixie Alley. But again, it's going to depend really on what happens Wednesday and Thursday. And it depends on how fast this trough moves and how far to the north it goes as well. The further north it goes, the lesser chance of severe weather would exist. And then by the weekend, that storm moves across the northeast. Not really looking at much wintry weather out of that. And then by next week, that's when things get a lot more uncertain. But again, the European model and the GFS model continue to show pretty active weather, at least through the end of November. And I have some good news for those who love winter. The Climate Prediction Center is indicating that during the first couple of weeks of December, below average temperatures are likely across the central and northern plains, the upper Midwest, and across the Northeast. This is something that we have alluded to in our winter forecast as well, that it looks like this winter is going to start out a bit colder. So overall, that's what it looks like so far. It looks like our beginning of meteorological winter is going to begin cold again. Keep in mind that meteorological winter starts on December 1st. Astronomical winter is what starts around December 21st. And then across the southeast, above average temperatures appear likely. So if you're in Florida like I am, we're not really looking at winter settling in anytime soon. And speaking of winter forecasts, we just released our latest winter forecast a couple of days ago. If you haven't already watched it, make sure to go check it out. It's called This Winter Just Got Even Crazier. A lot of new details about what we're expecting this winter, and also just kind of a meteorological breakdown of what we can expect over the next few months in terms of snowfall, cold air, and a lot more. So go ahead and check that out. You can go to the front page of our YouTube channel, or you can click the top link in the description below, or the end card that'll pop up here in just a moment. And as always, thank you all so much for watching today's forecast. If you are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe down below. And as a friendly reminder, we have a sale going on at shopmaxvelocity.net. It is the 67 sale. The very top of the page will give you the discount codes. We have 067 for 67 off any order, and then 670 for $6. 70 off any order of over $67. So make sure to go check that out. Again, shopmaxvelocity.net. It's also the top link in the description below. We have our Happy Holidays merch out Supercell collection, and a lot of other items that you can get for stocking stuffers or Christmas gifts. So go ahead and check that out. Also, our cheese curd merchandise will likely be released within the next week. So stay tuned for that, and we'll see you all again next time.